Good afternoon, everybody. Danny Malin from the Small Venue Survivalist here again, talking to you hatless again. And today I want to get into the concept of console envy. That is, wishing that you had a different mixing console to use because it would hopefully make things better. So I've been privileged in my life to have an opportunity to work in various capacities with consoles on every part of the cost spectrum. I've worked with consoles that cost tens of dollars. I've worked with consoles that cost hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, and even some consoles that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, up to $1 million when they were new. And that was, of course, mostly in school, where we had access to these big, these cool, large frame analog consoles that, they're so rad and they photograph really well. They look cool in pictures, definitely, and things like that. And to not shy away too much from controversy, I'm going to tell you this. They all sound pretty much the same. And if they sound different, it's hard to figure that out because it's really, really difficult to be in a situation where you can isolate the variable of what the console's basic signal path sounds like. That is, it's really difficult to be working on a record or working on a show and to, without changing some other variable, just swap the console out and say, does it sound better or not? I mean, that's an incredibly difficult experiment to run. And actually, I don't think that experiment should be run using human perception of what sounds better. I think that experiment should be run, if at all, using, some sort of FFT measurement or something like that. But anyway, right. All of this is to say that I personally feel that if you have a mixing console whose feature set matches what you need to do, then you're really okay, and you don't need to worry about getting your hands on some other more expensive mix system, just for the sake of a hopeful, just for the sake of a hopefully increased sonic experience. I don't really think that made sense in English, but anyway, I think you understand what I mean. The reality is, for instance, just speaking for myself, so I just finished mixing a show at the Janae Wagner Theater here in Salt Lake City, and at the Janae Wagner, they have an Avid SC48. The SC48 is, as I recall, about a $30,000 console to buy new in the configuration that they had. And to be perfectly brutally honest about it, I don't find the SC48 to be really any better than, say, a Behringer X32, which is one of those things where it's like, some people would have this debate about, well, should you be really happy about the X32 or disappointed in the SC48? And again, the thing is that it comes down to feature set in the end. I don't feel that my X32 consoles sound bad. I don't feel that the SC48 sounds angelically good. I mean, I think it sounds just fine. That is to say, I think that there are factors in any real show, in any real room, that completely eclipse the basic signal path of a console as whether or not things are going to sound good. The acoustics are going to kick your butt way harder than any little foible that has to do with input and output circuits, or whether how they do accumulation for the the summing bus or whatever. And also, by the way, I have this whole thing with summing buses, which is I think it's BS in the sense that, look, it's summing, it's addition. All right. Anything else that's going wrong is something else, like, distortion, or, do they have to dither here, or something like that. Anyway, that's off in the weeds and not really part of this discussion. But the bottom line is, mixing on an SC48, it does do a few things that an X32 won't. It has more input channels, right? That's why it's called an SC48. But, well, we didn't use 48 inputs anyway for the show that I just did. And another thing is that it will run Pro Tools plugins, which actually, as I alluded to in an article that I wrote last year, is kind of for me, it's kind of, so what? Because the reason that I have to run Pro Tools plugins on an SC48 is because Avid apparently does not think it's important that output channels should have like EQ and dynamics processing just built in. You have to roll your own, or use one of their preset number of graphic EQs that you can insert. And my X32 has insertable graphic EQs, and actually also has output channels that have built-in EQ and dynamics. So really the only thing left over is that the SC48 can have fade times in between scenes. And one thing that I discovered this year was that apparently the fade times don't apply to auxiliary send levels. So what makes the SC48 better? Well, mostly that it's installed in that room and it's big and impressive looking. And that's about it. I can tell you, just for myself, for instance, for my own shows, I do wish that I had a Midas M32 as opposed to a Behringer X32. But the real reason is just because the Midas M32, the full-size one, is a little bit bigger than the smaller X32s that I run. And of course, I mean, I actually, for the big stuff, I run X32 cores, which are one rack space of processing that you just, you bolt into a flight case and there you go. And so, right. So the M32 it's big and it has this cool looking control surface and it says Midas on it, which really impresses people. But so what? I don't really think that the M32 is going to sound better than any X32 situation that I have. There is maybe this possibility that the microphone preamps would sound better when I'm running them hard. But the thing is that I don't like to run microphone preamps hard, so it doesn't get me anything. Anyway, I'm rambling at this point. But bottom line, you don't have to have console envy. What matters is, do you have enough inputs to do the show? Do you have enough auxiliaries to mix the number of monitors you got to have? Do you have EQ that you like? All this stuff, you can probably get this for not a whole ton of money. If you have to have a very expensive, larger frame console for rider acceptance, that is a real issue that you do have to contend with, and I respect that. If you need to be able to accept certain kinds of show files, that is a real issue, and that is something that you have to think about, and I respect that as well. But in terms of just basic input to output sound quality, you just don't have to spend that much money anymore to get something that is completely competent and can actually do quite a bit, maybe even more than you're really comfortable with using, especially if you're new. So don't worry. The console you have is fine if you feel like the console you have is fine. Cheers, folks. I'll see you again soon.